Welcome to the Frustration to Freedom podcast, Team Elevate. Welcome. We got a special guest today, but first of all, my name is Mike Bemis, Simplicity Minneapolis, Senior Advisor Development Consultant. I got my co-host, Jeremy Karja, also Senior Advisor Development Consultant at Simplicity Minneapolis. I'm super excited about today, Jeremy. We have a special guest. We got somebody that is in the shoes of the people that are listening to this podcast, and Sal has done what they're trying to do. Right?
Yeah.
And so
yes.
Tell me, why should everybody listen to the next 30 minutes and learn from Sal? You know, he did 30 million last year in annuities. Why should they listen to Sal?
Well, you're talking a guy that he didn't have the magic bullet, right? You're talking a guy that worked his tail off, but he had been doing this close to 40 years when we found him, and he'll say he found us. And basically, he went from just a steady $3 to $5 million a year advisor to 30 million. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't right out of the chute, but he slowly worked his way up to that level. And I would venture to say, Mike, this will probably be the episode that gets the most views and most audience, because when you hear from somebody who's been in your shoes, been there, done that, but says, here's how I broke out, here's how I brought it to the next level, I think that really makes a difference, and people start to really believe. They could hear us preach all day, but to hear a peer go through, here's the steps I took, here's the things I did, here's the process I followed, and here's the wording I use, all those details, I think that makes the biggest difference. So Sal is special. He would say he's average and ordinary, but I would say he's special in the fact that he was very coachable and he worked very hard to get where he is today. And 30 million, working 4 days a week last year, going to do over 30 this year, I'm sure. Working 3 days a week this year. Stay tuned. Very excited. The one and only Sal. Sal, first off, thank you so much for coming on today. We know you are a very busy man. You have a lot of appointments, seminar tonight. So we appreciate you carving out a little time for us today. So before we dive too deep into it, why don't we let the audience know who is
Sal's just an average guy. just an average guy. Very humble.
Agreed.
To be doing this right now, because if I think about 5 or 10 years ago, I would never be in this position to be interviewed. So thank you guys. I've been doing this a long time, to say the least. 1979 was my start date, and hopefully like 2050 will be my end date or something.
Oh, you just got that baby face, Sal. So I don't know if the audience is gonna believe that.
It's just
it's a hairline. Well, tell us a little bit about, like, where did you start in the industry and kind of where are you at today, and then we'll probably pull out a few more questions from there.
Sure. Well, when I started in the insurance business back in '79, it was what they call a debit agent for the Prudential Insurance Company. So I started out as a debit agent in 1979, and basically I sold Prudential products through 1991. Then I left Prudential and opened up a little property and casualty business, which didn't really go too well. Hence, I met someone in 2000 who was in the annuity business, and that's how I got my little foundation in the annuity business, in the annuity space. And I did that for many years, up until present, bouncing from FMO to IMO. Everybody had the best shiny object, and like most people, you chase the glitz and glitter to hopefully build your practice, until I came across you guys. And you guys chased me for a long time. I was starting to feel comfortable where I was, and I blessed that day that I finally decided to come out and listen to what you guys had to offer, and just to sum it up, it changed my life. So here we
change our lives together. We enjoy every minute of it with you. So tell us a little bit about, you were with, you don't have to mention any names, but you were with some of the biggest IMOs in the country at one point. What made it so you didn't really find the success with them, but then coming here, you were able to find success? What is the difference?
That's real simple. So when you're with a big organization that has a lot of what they call mega producers, guys like me at the time would get lost in the sauce. They cater to the guys who we're doing the 20 million, the 50 million, the $100 million a year, and once in a while, they maybe drop you a line. I found that I was calling them more than they were calling me for help. And with that being said, the difference in working with you guys here is that you guys do more of the calling rather than I was doing the calling. And you offered more of the help. And anybody can be successful in this business with the desire, number one, and help, number two, right? You gotta have a destination. You gotta have a plan. And most of the IMOs that I worked with, they were just product pushes, right? You need an illustration, you need a rate, they'll have somebody do that for you. Helping you to get to the destination's a complete different story.
Now help me with that a little bit, because I've been to your office and I saw on the shelves all the different advisor coaching programs you had on your shelves. So you did get some teaching from some of these mega producers. You bought their programs, you signed up for their things. Why didn't that work? Why didn't their programs work?
That was just it. They gave you the stuff, but they didn't give you the guidance. They didn't fill in the gaps. You can remember the movie Rocky. He said to Adrian, you got gaps, I got gaps. Together we fill the gaps.
I love that.
So that's what happened here with you guys.
Okay.
The gaps were closed. There was continuity. There was the genuine and sincere effort to help somebody.
And there was follow through?
Of course. But it all starts with, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to change? Because change, although healthy, is difficult. And I said to you when we first met, I've been doing the same shit for 40 years. You expect me to do it differently now? Well, you know what that definition of insanity was. And then light bulb went on. Well, if I don't do something different, I says, I guess I'm going to spend retirement eating cat food and being homeless. Nobody wants to be that.
That's a compliment I have to give you, because I do meet a lot of advisors who have been doing it a long time, a certain way, and they don't want to change. They don't want to make the changes. They've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. And so I was amazed that you were willing to change. And I think that came from, you were skeptical, like most, when you came to your first live training. And we role-played a case with you, and we walked through a case. Tell us a little bit about that experience, role-playing that case, what we told you, and then how it worked with the client when you went back home.
So I will never forget that case because I always mention it. And that's what made me a true believer in, which was at the time First Income, now Simplicity Minnesota, made me a true believer in the process. So I'll just try and sum it up real quick. I've been meeting with somebody many times, and every time it was the pushback. I sat with Mike Starenka on the case, and he said, you're going to say this, they're going to say that. You're going to say this, and you're going to say that. And then I want you to say, you have a plan, your plan works, and if we don't do it my way, we're not doing it at all. Now, how about backing away from a sale? I've never backed away from a sale. But in any event, I said that to this doctor, and the doctor stared at me. Okay, let's do it your way. And I closed that case. And I couldn't believe it played out exactly as it was supposed to. But if I didn't have the coaching to do that, I would have never closed that sale, nor any other of the other sales that I've been fortunate enough to close over the past several years. So that made me a believer. It's that kind of hand-holding that makes a big difference. But then again, are you willing to make that change or to take that chance? And all of a sudden, your confidence level starts to go up. Maybe just a little, and it went up a little more, and has been every single year. And now I'm extremely confident, and I don't care if people don't buy. It's a numbers game, right? It's not how many no's you get, but how many yeses that count.
I get a call from you on a regular basis, at least a couple times a month, where you're calling me saying, hey, I turned this $2 million case down, this $1 million case down, and how you did it, and I can hear your confidence building in your voice as you do that. Now, like you said, you have to take action and have those appointments to be able to actually turn that many down and have that confidence, but that's fantastic. Okay, Sal, well, let's take them through a couple. When you got started with us, you learned that process. Let's take us back to 2022, August of 2022. I call this the takeoff year for you, Sal. So I already have a couple chapters ready for your book when you write it. The takeoff year 2022. Through August, you had written $775,000 of annuity business.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, you wrote $5.5 million. Not bad. What happened in August of 2022?
Well, I started to implement some marketing activities, one being a seminar. I have done seminars in the past, and like most people, you do one, and then you do another one at another time, and it wasn't consistent. Naturally, it's expensive to do, and to make money, you got to spend money, and that was instilled a little bit in me from you guys. You got to spend money to make money, and I started doing the seminars. I think we did maybe 1 or 2 a month at that point in time, and that's what caused that spike in business that year, because we had people to see. You can't expect to write $1 million with nobody to see. You can't expect to write $10 million without people to see, right? So, and so on and so forth. So that's what really turned it around in 22, is that started a seminar.
Love that. Going back to the gaps analogy, I feel like at that point, you were starting to fill in some of those gaps. You know, we were helping you refine your appointment process, refine the seminar, and fill in some of those gaps. Do you have anything else to add to that?
We're still tweaking. we're still we're not twerking, but we're tweaking. We're definitely tweaking, and we tweak consistently, because you have to be aware of what you do, what you say, and you have to understand that a lot of times what comes out of our mouth is the result of maybe just 1 or 2 words that we've said, good, bad, or indifferent, that can change a whole sales process, right? And I'm not allowed to say those words anymore, but I said those words for many, many years, and I always laugh when I think about that. What do you mean
You say that?
Yeah. So, but I don't say that anymore, and I don't even want to think it, but it taught me a very valuable lesson. And if somebody didn't bring that to my attention, I would still be saying those words right now. Can I say those words? Am I allowed?
This time, just one time for the audience.
I used to tell every prospect, you're under no obligation. And when I said that to you guys, what do you mean you're under no obligation? And what are you here for? You're obligated. You're in my office. You're obligated to do business. So I don't say that anymore. And that made an unbelievable change, because now it's like, we're not here to chat. We're here to conduct business.
You can't help people if you aren't doing business, right?
Correct.
So we want to help people. We want to help these retirees, bring them from point A to point B, and we're obligated almost, because we have the knowledge and the know-how to fix their problems. We're obligated to help them to fix those problems. So that's a good revelation. We'll dive in future episodes. We won't be able to cover it all today, but in future episodes, we'll dive into some of those specific pieces, all that refinement you did. I'll never forget, we'll give a quick teaser on your first appointment, and you weren't getting second appointments, and they just weren't working out. And we had you walk through the first appointment, and you said, look, I follow it to a T. I do exactly what you guys say, to a T. And then as we walked through it, you were correct. You did it about 90%, but there was 5-10% we tweaked, and next thing you know, you're getting those second meetings. So we'll talk about that in a future episode, but I just want to get that point of refinement and fill in the gaps across a little bit there. So in 2023, we're going to call this the year of consistency for the book, Sal. 2023, the year of consistency and refinement. That was the year where you consistently did marketing. And at that point, you were refining it, and you continue to refine, like you said, you still do today. But tell us a little bit about that and why you decided, I'm going to just be consistent with the marketing, consistent with my appointment process, consistent with how you conduct business.
It's like anything else. Today, if you go out and you decided to buy a franchise, they would give you a manual. this is the location you should be looking at. This is the amount of staff you should have. This is how you should do this. This is how you should do that. In other words, a recipe for success, right? Mm-hmm. So in coming to you guys, it was like buying into a franchise that didn't cost you anything because you had a recipe, right? So no matter if it went wrong, if it really went wrong, it wasn't anyone's fault but your own because you didn't follow the recipe. So with the consistent marketing, instead of doing a seminar from time to time, we decided to do them monthly. And we did 2 seminars every month. And we refined the sales process. And I was a one-close guy. And if I didn't close you, I was trying to club you to say yes. And if you didn't say yes, well, on to the next one. My daughter, as you know, who works here in the office, calls me the hunter and not the farmer. So I learned to be the farmer instead of the hunter and refine the sales process. And we did a first appointment and got a second appointment and then try to close on the second. And by making those little changes, it put the prospect at ease. We weren't here, tell them on the first appointment, we're not here to do business today. We're going to have a conversation. You come in, you'll have a cup of coffee, an espresso, macchiato, whatever you like. I'm Italian. and we'll enjoy our time together. And then we'll decide if there's a need, right? Because as I've learned to say, a no is acceptable, right? I don't say that, but a no is acceptable. And I think that's what really changed the whole dynamic of our business here. The consistency, the sales process, having multiple meetings every week, At first we said, okay, if we can only have like 6 meetings a week or 5 meetings a week, that would be great. But it's nice to have 5 meetings a day, doing that 3 or 4 days a week, because the no's don't hurt as much, right? Because you got someone else coming in right after that. And if the first one says yes, forget about it. It's off to the races for the day, right? So, and that's what really turned that year around, is that consistency.
Yeah, a couple of arts I feel you learned heavily that year, and you've continued to learn and master. You mastered the art of disqualifying early on, disqualifying those prospects that probably won't do business. And I think you can only master that art if you know you have those other meetings coming up, right? You know you have a full calendar for the couple weeks ahead, and then more marketing that's going to produce more, right? And number 2, the other art I think you learned is the art of firing the broker, right? You thought you had that nailed down really well as well, but you lost a big commission one day, and then you refined that art as well. And those are 2 topics we're going to go into heavily on a future episode with you, because I think you really are good at those 2 arts, along with many others, but those 2 I really like talking about. So 2023, your consistency, had another great year. Instead of 5.5, I think you were at like 11.1, 10.7, somewhere in there for that year. Not bad for just straight annuities. 24, the year of doubling down. So that's when you decided to double some things in your business, but you had a big mental hurdle to go through before you could just click that faucet on. But you also knew, I have a money machine. Why not get another money machine? Tell us a little bit about that, Sal.
So not only did we double down on that, we doubled down on everything that year. If you could recall, we decided to add 2 more employees. We decided to go to a bigger office space only 2 years ago, which we're outgrowing now already. We need more.
Good problem to have.
And what we did really with the seminars is we went from having 2 seminars every week, 2 seminars every month, to having 4 seminars a month. So some months we did 3 seminars, some months we did 5. But on average, having 4 seminars a month, and the activity was off the charts. So when I tell people, hey, I'm busy, it's not fluff. I'm busy, and I'm not a young guy like you guys, but the point is you get tired, and the other thing is that I'm trying to work only 3 days a week, and make those days count. So last year I was at 4 days a week. This year I'm trying to work 3 days a week, and then eventually next year maybe 2 days a week. But the point is that having that activity and having a staff that can take care of all of the so-called policy service, customer service, whatever you would like to call it, and all of the administrative stuff actually gave me the time to do what I think I do best. And that's like sitting in this room, conducting meetings, and closing sales. And that's what I enjoy anyway. I mean, I don't think most people like to fill out a change of beneficiary form. You know?
Not if they're in sales.
You know, you don't make any money doing that either. So that doubling down really did make a big difference because, as you know, we increased our production. I think we doubled our production that year. You have the numbers. I don't.
More than double. I mean, you ended 2024, I think it was 27.2 million or 26.8 million off the top of my head. So, yeah, more than double, almost triple.
From a kid from Brooklyn.
Not bad. From doing, 3 to 5 million for 30 plus years to not a bad jump. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I can't say I did it alone though.
Takes a village. Takes a village. So a couple of quotes come to mind, 2023 and 2024. I know you mentioned these quotes before, but I think it goes something like, it's hard to derail a train on its track. Is that something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you mean by that?
In other words, if you're following the script and you learn the appointment process, people can throw all they want at you, and you know how to just let it bounce off because you know exactly what's coming, because the objections, that I got to think about it, whatever, they're standard in every meeting. And if you have the ammunition on how to handle that, you're not going to go off the tracks, off the rails. And I think that's what most guys do. They I, for 30 years, didn't plan a meeting, didn't think about a meeting, didn't have a sales process, didn't have a track to run on, shooting from the hip, as I call it. And that's all changed. Everything is scripted. We know exactly that we're not going to get derailed. When we hold the second meeting, the apps are already prepared, even though they haven't said yes yet, because in our mind they're saying yes. It's just a mind shift, a mind culture. I don't know what you want to call it, but
it definitely a mind shift for sure. Remember you saying that before.
Yeah.
2025 next chapter in the book, the year of the surprise. You were on pace mid-year to do over 30 million. Things were looking fantastic, I think. And then we had a little bit of a hiatus. But you still ended the year strong. How could you have a 3-month hiatus and still end the year so strong at almost what you did in 2024, a little shy?
How could I have a 3-month hiatus? Well, they cut my chest open, and I had no choice. But the point is that, when I came back after 3 months, I remember talking with Brian, and I said, "Hey, Brian, I'll be happy if I can do another 5 million by the end of the year." And he said, "You will." The encouragement was always there. The support was always there. And I just said, hey, I'm not going to do any less than I did the year before. And we turned it on. We turned it on hard. We worked hard. I wasn't supposed to work as hard, but I wanted to, just for me, primarily. I didn't want to have any less. In fact, I wanted to try and have more. And we had a fabulous end of the year last year. I think just in the month of December, we did over 5 million.
Yeah, you did. 5.2 million December.
So,
not bad.
It's just a question. Look, anybody could do this if you want to. But you need the tools. You need the tools, right? Anybody could build a house. Just give me the tools, give me the plans, and somebody to be right next to me to say, hey, put this there, do this, hammer this, and you can do it, right?
Give you the step-by-step, and then when you're a little off, hold your hand through it. So a couple more questions here before we end, Sal. Number one, we talk a lot about the 10 pillars of marketing that Mike Steranka did. Obviously, you are getting an A+ in a couple of those pillars, but there's 10 pillars. There's a lot there. What would you give yourself as far as like grades on some of the other pillars? Are you A's across the board? Couple of A's, couple of B's? Where would you say you land on
Some
those
of them
10
I can't
pillars?
even give myself a scorecard because I haven't even tried yet, right? But some of them I could say, hey, I've gotten an A plus in a couple. Some I need work on. And I think you and I have spoken about this on several occasions. Maybe I'm doing maybe half of the pillars, maybe
Yeah.
half. Like I said,
Yeah.
there's some I have not even tried as yet.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If you're doing all of them, how much production are you doing, Sal?
Oh,
And you're giving yourself an A in every category.
first of all, I'd have to have my twin brother beside me. but the sky is the limit. Why not 50? Why not 100 billion? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I agree. I agree. So let's leave our audience. Some of them are in your exact shoes, Sal. They've been doing this 20, 30, 40 years. They've either never had the breakout year, or when they had the breakout year, they couldn't repeat it, right? You had a breakout year at one point, but you weren't able to repeat it and went right back to the norm. So they're plateaued. What is going to change for them to get them out of the plateau, get them to the next level? What steps do they need to take? What mindset do they need to have? Help them with that quick.
We need speed, lightning speed. I'm a Rocky fan. But the reality is you need a system. You need a system. And you need to follow the system. And really that's the key. You need guidance, you need a system, and you need desire. And I could say this to who's ever watching this. If you listen and you follow direction, you're going to do more than you did before. And it's that simple, because I remember driving home from Baltimore, and I'm very close with my mom, and I called my mom and I says, Mom, I met some people, and I've heard a lot of stories in my years. I says, but the difference between this story and the other story is how sincere it was, how heartfelt it was, how real it was. And I says, and I think I met some people who might just change my life. And my mother says, well, if you feel that and you believe that, then you do that. So for anyone who really wants to, you got to believe you can, and this is the place that'll help you get there.
Yep. Yep, we believed in you, and
And you do need speed.
And you do need speed. You do need speed. I'm having the kids watch the Rocky series again. Maybe, Sal, we're going to start nicknaming you the Italian Stallion.
There you go.
Mike, did we miss anything? Any other thoughts there? Closing thoughts.
Sal summed it up perfectly at the end there.
Yeah, he did.
Really did, Sal. Really appreciate you having you on.
Yeah.
You
Hey,
helped a lot of people
my
today.
pleasure. And anybody who's listening here, if they do come on board, I'll be happy to help them too.
There you go. Book a call with us, and we'll connect you with the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Well, I don't know about a legend. I don't know.
In
about
your mind, in my mind.
It's all
Like
great.
we always say, if you want to join Team Elevate, you can book a call either in the notes of this podcast or the notes of the YouTube channel, and you'll get direct contact with either myself or Jeremy, and we'll love to learn about your business and see how we can help you grow. We'd love for you to have the same success that Sal has.
Yeah, we really would.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Sal.
Guys, thank you for your time. I got to go to work now.
You better. Yeah.
All right?
All right.
Have a good one, Sal. Have a good seminar tonight.
All right. Great.
Take care.